So here we are, just moving into the second category of psychopomps, starting to explore what is the second ray of the comforters. So this is where I was talking a little bit before. This is where we are bringing the gentle. The harbingers can feel quite harsh, quite strong. Let me just turn this down a little bit. And yet the comforters bring us to, they hold us in a place. And really they're about allowing the emotion to be expressed, to move through us. The comforters don't move us along on the journey, same way that the harbingers don't move us along on the journey. The harbingers tell us that there is something that is about to happen. And there can be a lot of feelings that come up around that, or feelings around what we have gone through. And the comforters hold us in that space. But they are also connected to, I mean, they are psychopomps in the sense that they know of the other worlds, they know of other realms. They, in their energies, can bring us to healing and to wholeness. But they're not taking us to that place, perhaps, in this moment, in this particular role. This is inviting us to listen, to take haven, to take refuge, and to listen to the messages that that are coming to us, you know, through our bodies and through our emotions in this time. So this is about offering this shelter when we are experiencing a bit of a storm, and recognizing that there are always going to be these moments when we need to, or we would benefit from pausing for a moment as we're walking through the challenge or walking through the dark or the unknown, to stop and just allow ourselves to be held. So these energies, there's 6 of them that I'm going to introduce, and these are the ones to turn to in these times. So these are, there's the comforters. They offer us to drink of the cup of healing. Just taking that space. So the first that I want to introduce is Bronwyn. And so she's comes from Welsh tradition. Her story is found in the 2nd branch of the Mabinogi. We're going to meet another goddess, Welsh goddess, who appears in the 1st and the 4th, I believe it is, a little later on. Bronwyn is one of the great queens of Britain, and she is the sister of Bron. Her name, Bronwen, means white or holy raven. Bron is raven. So anytime you see a name that has Bron or Vron in it, because, you know, Welsh and mutations and all, it's a raven reference. So her brother, Bron, or Bendigay Vran, who is the blessed raven, and she is Bronwen, the holy or white raven. You see this also in truth in the story of Caradwyn, because her son is Mor Vran, and he is the sea raven. So there's a lot of these birds, the ravens, who are this indication of this entrance to the other world, and through challenge tends to be. So the story of Bronwen, that I'll just sort of touch on a little bit. It's so in depth, but She is to marry the King of Ireland, Matholwch, and because in that way then she becomes the bridge between these two lands, between Britain with her brother Bran and Ireland with her husband Matholwch. And at the eve of the wedding, there's Branwen and Bran also had two half brothers, Nisian and Ifnisian, and they are light and dark as well. There's always this interplay. Nisian was said to have been so kind and gentle that if he were to step into a crowd of warring people, they would just come to peace in their hearts. But Ifnisian is the opposite, that, you know, his presence would cause, you know, the best friends to quarrel. And Ifnisian is annoyed by this wedding. He feels that Bronwyn, well, he should have been consulted. He wasn't. You know, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he does a terrible thing, and he mutilates the horses of the Irish king. And there's great outcry, and Bran has to make a lot of concessions, give more horses back, and more than that, and also this great cauldron. And so Matholwch is appeased, and Bronwyn goes with him to Ireland. But then there's these whispers in Matholwch's. You know, they're quite happily married for a little time, and she gets pregnant and gives birth to a son. But there's whispers of that Matholwch gave over too easily, that this was a great insult, and, you know, how could he have, you know, just walked away appeased. And so he ends up banishing Bronwyn to the Kitchen Towers. And so she carries this great sadness. There's so much sadness around her. She teaches a little, tames a starling, and she ends up putting a message to the starling, sending it to her brother back in Britain. That she is experiencing this terrible banishment, this cruel treatment, and he comes with his army to get her, and there's a great war. Well, actually, I should say at first, he tried to have a diplomatic solution, but Ifnisian also interfered with that. There had been a plot, and so from the Irish against the British, and so, you know, anyways, it's a disaster, and this trying to bring Bronwyn back to her home ends up resulting in this terrible war, and all of Ireland is killed except for 5 women who are pregnant, and they give birth to these 5, sounds like the regions of Ireland, and all but 7, including Bran, are killed of the British of the Welsh, and so they bring Bronwyn back. There's just devastation when she arrives back on the shores of Wales, not far from where I'm actually sitting right here. There's a stone cleaved in two called Beth Bronwyn, the grave of Bronwyn, which is said to be her heart broken in two. She realizes that everybody that she loves is lost. And she says, because of me, all this devastation, because of me, all that I have loved is gone, and her heart breaks in two, and she dies. And so Bronwyn, as a comforter, there are these moments when our hearts are so broken we think those pieces will never ever get back together. She recognizes what it is to hold such deep love and such deep pain. She provides the comfort for those who are caught in that space, just allowing the sadness to flow, knowing that the love is great and the loss is great. The next comforter is Demeter. And we know her stories, the tale of Persephone and Persephone's abduction. And there are levels to the pain. First, that anguish of having lost her daughter, and she's searching. And, you know, that confusion, the hopes and the fears that are probably intermingled. And then there comes a time when she knows what happened to Persephone. She knows that Persephone was abducted by Hades and taken to the underworld, and that Persephone has eaten pomegranate seeds, eaten of the food of the underworld, so she cannot come back. And Demeter, these are her brothers. Hades is her brother. Zeus, who agreed for Hades to take Persephone to the underworld, you know, is her brother. And Demeter is furious at what had transpired, furious that, you know, her dedication to caring and protecting her daughter has been thwarted by her brothers. And her anger is so great that the world, through her grief, you know, the sadness and the anger, the world is devastated. The world cannot keep going. She withholds the crops, and the land is barren until Zeus agrees to do something. Something must be done. And so the arrangement, the bargain is struck, and, you know, with Persephone being able to come up, because she only ate 6 pomegranate seeds, so she can come up for half the year, and then she's down for the other half of the year. And we'll meet her in a different reflection of Psychopomps as well, because she also is a great teacher in how to navigate the liminal worlds. But as a comforter, in truth, I find that Demeter she teaches us about the power of anger. You know, there is, in the grieving process, there is, you know, bargaining, and then anger, and then sadness, and then acceptance. You know, first there's, shock bargaining. First we don't believe it, and then we try to, you know, well, maybe it doesn't have to be, if only this, if only that, if only this. And then the anger. The anger is the realization that this is the situation. She is a powerful force, a powerful advocate. Very often, when we are lost in the dark, it is because it's like what we were talking about earlier. You know, that which is precious has been taken, or has been denigrated in some way, and she stands up and says, no, this is precious, this is worth fighting for, and I will not let what I see as being injustice just land. I will say something. So her anger invites potency. So Eir just holds us in this place of healing. She is she's a Valkyrie, and we'll meet the Valkyries later as well, but she's not like that force of, well, actually we there's similar energy actually to Babe, like that the kinestheticness of moving through and into battle. But there's also the healing that comes after the force. So she is said to sit with 8 other maidens, is another reflection of this ninefold, right? On the hill of healing. And if you offer her a sacrifice, then she will protect you from peril. She is all about mercy and protection. And it is the healing that she offers is that of the resilience to keep going, to keep moving, of coming back to that place of wholeness. And we have Epona. So Epona is sort of continental Celts. She's found images of her found around was modern day France and Britain as well. She's often pictured with a foal, that this her role as psychopomp is as being, again, in this other reflection of hope, that there is a new beginning, there is new life. She carries grain, which is the harvest and the nod to what has come to an end but offers nourishment, and the foal of what is inviting forward. And so, she holds us in this place of haven while we incubate that which is going to bring us forward. And another powerful goddess who I see as a comforter, although she's got so many different reflections as well. There's so many different places where she could land. But what I love about her comfort aspect is, so again, with a brother, her brother Osiris, who was they were king and queen of the manifest world. But there was a battle with another brother, with Set, and Set killed Osiris and dismembered him, and flung the parts of his body across the known world. And Isis, in her grief, was able to search the world to find these lost parts. What I love about this story is that, so she finds most of the parts, but it's actually Osiris's penis that she doesn't find. And so she crafts it out of the earth and uses her wisdom of magic, her knowledge of how to bring forth life out of inanimation, enough to lie with him. She becomes pregnant in that moment. There's just so much richness of symbolism. And this little falcon that is on her arm is the child that comes forth of the union of her with her resurrected husband. And then he becomes not the Lord of the manifest world, but he becomes the Lord of the underworld as well, who guides. So with the Egyptian Book of the Dead, it's Osiris's journey. But this, as a comforter, I see Isis as holding this image of wholeness. She invites us to remember that even if we feel so fragmented, she sees us whole. She invites us to step into wholeness. And if there are parts that's missing, I don't know. She knows how to craft what needs to be crafted in order for us to come to wholeness once more. And then we have another Welsh goddess and another horse goddess, and this is Rhiannon. So again, the story is so many layers, so much depth to it. But I will say that, again, in a similar story, so she comes from the other world and she marries the king of South Wales, Puig, and they have a child. And the night that the child is born, and she falls asleep, and her handmaidens are taking care of the child disappears, and there's a whole, otherworldly thing that's happening over there. But her handmaidens are like, oh my gosh, we're going to get in so much trouble. And so they kill a puppy, they smear Rhiannon with it, and when she wakes up, and she sees herself covered in blood, and she's like, what happened, and where's my child? And the handmaids are like, oh my God, you will not believe what you did. It was terrible. It was horrific. And so she is charged with this terrible, terrible act. And Puig, she says, I know I didn't do it. And Puig, her husband, he believes her, but something has to be done. And so she has a punishment leveled, where she has to sit outside of the gates of the court, and if somebody is approaching the court, she has to offer her back. She has to become the horse, and as she carries the person to the court, tell them about the terrible, terrible thing that she has done. And it does come to pass, this is a whole other part of the story, that what actually happened to the child, he sort of went through the other world and ended up in another, being raised by another couple, who then realizes as he's growing that, oh, this child looks an awful lot like the king. So eventually the story comes out, and her innocence is proven, but she knows her truth. And so I see in this reflection of the comforters, Rhiannon reflects integrity. That we may be lost and confused. I don't even know what's going on, or people are saying these things, or I thought that this is, I thought I knew where I stood in this situation, and I don't, and now I feel lost because I don't know that I know who I am. But Rhiannon is like, you know who you are, you know what your truth is, you know that you operate with integrity, So she comforts us to come back to that barometer of self-knowledge. So these are the 6 of our comforter psychopomps. And so I invite you to think of a number between 1 and 6. It's not how it appears on the screen, but this brings them to mind. We have Demeter here, and Rhiannon here, and Aer here, Isis, Epona, Bronwyn. And so if you chose number 1, it is Epona who has come to you. If it is number 2, it is Bronwyn who has come to you. Number 3, it is Aer who has come to you. Number 4, it is Demeter who has come to you. Five, it is Isis who has come to you. 6, it is Rhiannon. So, take 3 deep centering breaths. Just take in that sense, that image of who it is who has come to work with you in this comforter role. We are starting to build upon. There's something about the master healer and the harbinger and your comforter. They're starting to build a team. So just be aware of that. But work with, meditate with, dialogue with, connect with, read the stories of whoever it is who has come to you. And I will stop the recording.